It's crazy how many young rappers pass, whether it's due to the game, whether some people believe it's a sacrifice. But in this video right here, we have new body cam footage of King Von's death going viral. Now, King Von was 26 when he had passed, and he was very close associated with Lil Durk. They're from Chicago. And the only other person that I'm thinking about when I think about King Von is also Pop Smoke, because he also passed at a very young age. He was either around like 20, 21, or 22. Very, very young. And it always happens when they're getting that next level of fame, money, and the whole nine. Whether it's haters, ops, street beef, whatever it is, yeah. So we're going to look at this body cam footage right here. Drop a like down below, and let's see what's going on. And yo, wait, hold up. We actually like really close to like 1.5 million subscribers. We're at 1.49. So also hit that subscribe button, especially if this is not the first video you're watching of mine.
You ain't going nowhere.
That's new footage from the night Von got shot, and he's complaining about his leg and needing to go to the hospital. But the officer's response is chilling.
You ain't going nowhere. I saw him shoot.
It seems Von wasn't even given a chance at survival. But that's not even the craziest thing that happened that night from the new body cam. Let's get into it. The fatal night and shocking new evidence. So check it. Back in November 2020, King Von, real name Davon Bennett, was out in Atlanta at the Monaco Hookah Lounge when things went south real quick. This new body cam footage shows the pure chaos that unfolded after shots were fired. The footage was shared by the account at MyMixTaPez on July 23rd, 2024, and it's been spreading like wildfire ever since. The image even had a watermark from IG at Chiracs_history, which, if you know anything about Chicago drill, is one of those accounts that documents everything about the streets. Now, I've got to keep it a stack with y'all. The fact that this footage is just now surfacing in 2024, a whole 4 years after Von's passing, is wild as hell. One user on Twitter straight up called it out, saying they waited 4 years for this tape. Like, why now? What's the agenda? That's the type of timing that makes you go, if you know what I'm saying. For those who don't know the full backstory, let me break it down for you real quick. King Von was one of the most authentic drill rappers out of O-Block, a notorious housing project in Chicago's South Side. This man wasn't just rapping about the streets, he was living that life for real. Some of y'all might have seen that YouTube documentary called King Von Rap's First Serial Killer that dropped in 2023, going deep into Von's alleged body count and street reputation. Whether you believe all that or not, Von's authenticity was never in question in the drill scene. The incident went down when Von and his crew got into an altercation with Quando Rondo's squad outside the hookah lounge. What started as hands quickly escalated to gunfire when Quando's homie, Timothy Lil Tim Leaks, allegedly started busting to protect his friend. And just like that, at only 26 years old, King Von's life was cut short. But here's where it gets even more messed up. The new body cam footage shows police responding to the scene, which adds a whole other layer to this story. Police were actually present during the altercation, with some reports saying officers even opened fire during the chaos, though it's been established that Von was shot during the initial gunfire between the two crews, not by police. Looking at the footage, you can see police at the scene trying to restore order in the middle of what can only be described as pure pandemonium. One officer says in the clip,
I'm on scene. What you got? I'm right. I'm in the parking lot.
This whole situation is giving wrong place, wrong time, but on a whole other level. The body cam footage also captures officers trying to get control of the situation with commands like,
You, get out the car. Out the car.
Meanwhile, someone can be heard saying,
I gotta go to the hospital, my leg. Yeah, we gonna get you to the hospital.
The desperation in those voices, man, that's real life and death playing out right there. What's crazy is that in the middle of all this chaos, one of Von's homies, Muwap, was seen on the surveillance footage trying to drag Von's body to a car to rush him to the hospital. Talk about loyalty.
Wow.
That's the kind of friend everyone claims they got until bullets start flying. Meanwhile, other footage showed Von's friend Slutty allegedly opening fire on Lil Tim, only to be shot by police, with Louis also getting critically wounded. This whole situation reminds me of the Wild Wild West, except it's in downtown Atlanta in 2020. Like, imagine if this happened at a Travis Scott concert or something. The media would have been on it for months. But because it's drill rappers from the hood, mainstream media gave it a week of coverage max, then moved on like nothing happened. Now, the reactions to this footage dropping have been all over the place. Some fans are mourning Von all over again, leaving comments like, "Rest in peace, King Von," as looking up at us. Meanwhile, other folks are being mad disrespectful.
And quick disclaimer for YouTube purposes, this is just for documentation for true crime. It's not meant to shock people. I gotta say that just for YouTube purposes.
saying things like, "Rest in piss." And there's nothing tragic about the passing away of a serial killer like Vaughn. The internet really be showing how cold people can be sometimes. No cap. What's even more interesting is how this all ties into the ongoing beef that sparked after Vaughn's death.
Hey,
This
yo.
wasn't just some random shooting. This was the catalyst for years of back and forth between OTF and NBA YoungBoys camp, since Quando was signed to NBA at the time. That beef has led to even more violence, with Lil Durk allegedly ordering a hit on Quando Rondo in retaliation, resulting in the death of Quando's cousin Lil Pab in August 2022. The legal fallout from all this has been ongoing. In October 2024, 5 associates of King Von were charged in a murder-for-hire plot targeting Quando Rondo, allegedly in retaliation for Von's death. This case became so serious that Lil Durk himself got arrested on October 24, 2024, facing charges including conspiracy to commit murder for hire, resulting in death. The case is apparently so complex that Durk's trial, initially set for January 2025, got pushed back to October 14, 2025. According to reports, there's over 230 GB of digital evidence and 20,000 pages of reports involved. As Forbes reported, this ain't your average case. It's so unusual and so complex that they needed extra time to prepare. And get this, in an unexpected twist, the murder charge against Timothy Lil Tim Leaks was actually dismissed in 2023. This dude who allegedly pulled the trigger that killed King Von is walking free, while Durk is facing serious time for allegedly retaliating. The streets really ain't fair, and neither is the justice system sometimes. Meanwhile, Quando Rondo has his own legal problems. As of January 10th, 2025, he's serving a 33-month federal prison.
Bro, how do they not know who, like, if we have all of this footage, how do they not know who actually shot him? What's going on, bro? This seeming like a setup. Like a setup from something further than just street beef, like a judicial setup or a record label setup, something. If everyone's walking free away from the situation like this and they have all this on footage, something fishy, bro.
Prison sentence for drug conspiracy charges with a projected release date of May 29, 2027. Bro got locked up after pleading guilty to a single count of conspiracy to possess and distribute marijuana. His sentence includes a $40,000 fine and 3 years of supervised release, with conditions like mental health treatment and drug testing. Talk about a downfall, from being an up-and-coming rapper to doing time over some weed charges. What's wild is thinking about how all this started. Some people say it was over a girl, others say it was street beef, but at the end of the day, a simple altercation outside a hookah lounge turned into a chain reaction of violence that's still having ripple effects years later. One moment, you're on top of the drill game. The next, your homies are dragging your body to a car trying to save your life. The streets don't love nobody for real. And let's not forget the cultural impact of Von's death. This wasn't just any rapper. This was King Von, one of the most authentic storytellers in drill music. Tracks like Crazy Story and Took Her to the O were more than just songs. They were vivid narratives of street life that felt like mini movies. Von had a way of painting pictures with his words that few others could match. As one fan put it on Reddit, Von had the potential to be among the greatest rappers, with some even drawing comparisons to Tupac, the man behind the legend. Von's father, Walter Silk Bennett, was a well-known figure in Chicago's street scene with ties to the Black Disciples gang, but Von didn't get to learn much from his pops directly since his father was murdered when Von was just 11 years old. Imagine
One thing I'm wondering is if King Von had life insurance, and if so, like, who owned it? Because a lot of times record labels put life insurance on the artist, so once they pass, they get like a big check.
And losing your father to gun violence. That type of trauma shapes you different, no cap. By the time Von was a teenager, he was already deep in the streets. As the documentary about him reveals, Von claimed he started gangbanging around 2006 when he was just 12, and by high school he was already armed. His friend G Herbo even said Von was the one who started the trend of bringing guns to their school, with Herbo rapping on their collab FaceTime that Von showed him a revolver during freshman orientation. What's crazy is that Von's criminal record started early and stayed consistent. He went to jail for the first time around August 2010 at just 16 for armed robbery, allegedly taking someone's car at gunpoint. Von would later reference this on his song Armed and Dangerous, saying he was offered 45 years in a plea deal. Imagine facing nearly half a century behind bars before you can even legally drink. That's the reality Von was living. Between 2012 and 2014, Von's name started ringing bells in the streets of Chicago, but not for music, for murder. According to various sources, including his own tweets and later lyrics, Von was allegedly involved in multiple killings during this period. The documentary refers to him as rap's first serial killer for a reason. One of the most infamous allegations involves the 2014 murder of K.I., a female gang member from an opposing set. What's even wilder is that Vaughn was featured in a documentary about K.I. called Secret Life of a Gang Girl, where he portrayed himself as a romantic interest, all while being the prime suspect in her murder. That's some next-level psychopathic behavior. Imagine being interviewed about someone you allegedly killed and acting like you had feelings for them. That's like O.J. Simpson writing a book called If I Did It. Oh wait, that actually happened too. Vaughn's Twitter account from that era is basically a self-incrimination fest. He would tweet things like "homicide is in the air" right before murders happened and post cryptic messages afterwards. After allegedly killing someone called Modell in October 2012, Vaughn tweeted "Who died?" just 17 minutes after the murder. Then, when a person named P5 was killed in October 2012, Vaughn tweeted "Check the stats" less than 30 minutes before the murder, followed by his 45 makes his do 40 flicks. At the exact time police estimate the shooting took place. The craziest
Wait, when was he
part,
making these
Vaughn 40
posts?
flicks. At the exact time
2012.
before the murder, followed by his 45 makes his do 40 flicks. At the exact time police estimate the shooting took place. The craziest part, Vaughn kept beating these cases. He was arrested numerous times, including for a 2014 murder where he was charged with first-degree murder, but he'd eventually walk free due to witnesses disappearing or evidence being insufficient. In his song What's Next, Vaughn would even rap that they killed the only witness and that his co-defendant Big Mike was the only one who spoke. Big Mike ended up taking 28 years, while Vaughn walked free in December 2017 after beating the case. It wasn't until after beating that murder charge that Vaughn would pivot to music, largely thanks to his childhood friend, rap superstar Lil Durk. Durk saw Vaughn's potential as a storyteller and brought him into the music game, featuring him in interviews like his November 2018 Breakfast Club appearance, where Vaughn nearly admitted to murder on air before Durk started coughing to signal him to stop talking. Vaughn's breakout hit Crazy Story dropped in December 2018, just one day before the one-year anniversary of him beating his murder case. The song was a vivid narrative about an armed robbery gone wrong, showcasing Vaughn's natural storytelling abilities. The track blew up, racking up 3 million views in just a week and now sitting at over 69 million views on YouTube. This was followed by Crazy Story 2.0 with Lil Durk, which landed Vaughn his first entry on the Billboard chart. What made Vaughn's music so compelling was the authenticity. When he rapped about violence, fans knew it wasn't cap. This was a man who had allegedly lived everything he was rapping about. As one Reddit user put it, Vaughn had effortless energy and the potential to be among the greatest rappers if he had lived longer. But even as Vaughn's music career was taking off, his street mentality remained intact. In February 2019, Vaughn and Durk were allegedly involved in a shooting outside the Varsity restaurant in Atlanta, targeting a man named Alexander Witherspoon for $30,000 cash he supposedly had on him. Detectives would later claim that video showed Lil Durk shooting from his own personal car, a custom Jeep Trackhawk with a camouflage wrap. Both artists would eventually be arrested and face serious charges.
That's like some real GTA right there.
On bond. Despite the legal troubles, Vaughn's star continued to rise. His 2020 debut studio album, Welcome to O'Block, was a commercial success, debuting at number 13 on the Billboard 200. The project featured some of Vaughn's most honest tracks, like Armed and Dangerous, where he admits the cops are onto him, and Demon, where he opens up about becoming a killer after his friend White's death. The album's success, however, would be overshadowed by Vaughn's death just a week later. It's one of those tragic, what could have been stories that hip-hop has seen too many times. A talented artist cut down right as they were reaching their peak. What makes Vaughn's case so fascinating is the contrast between his music persona and his real-life actions. Most rappers might exaggerate their street credentials, but Vaughn was accused of downplaying his. As one fan noted on Reddit, he knew it was the way out, but he had a reputation to keep up, suggesting Vaughn was caught between his past and the potential future music offered him. Vaughn's relationship with Asian Doll, a rapper signed to Gucci Mane's 1017 Records, also became a major part of his public image. The two had a very public on-again, off-again relationship that continued to make headlines even after his death. In fact, just last month, on March 5th, 2025, King Von's sister claimed on a live stream that Vaughn was only with Asian Doll for clout and made a broader claim that Chicago men use women for all their worth. This sparked a heated debate online, with fans questioning the sister's credibility and motives. One reply to the post stated, "She doesn't like Asians, so her words aren't credible," while another questioned, "What clout does Asian Doll have for him to use her for?" These ongoing discussions show how Vaughn's personal life continues to be dissected years after his death, with family members and fans still fighting over his narrative. The relationship drama would later play a role in Von's death, as tensions between Von and NBA YoungBoy's associate Quando Rondo allegedly stemmed partly from Von's beef with YoungBoy over Asian Doll. In August 2020, Von was seen spending time with the mother of NBA YoungBoy's child, Jania, leading to public tension between the camps. This was allegedly one of the factors that fueled the animosity leading up to the fatal November 6th confrontation. Looking at Von's rise from the streets to the charts, it's hard not to see the trajectory of a Greek tragedy. A young man born into circumstances that pushed him toward violence, who found a way out through music, only to have his past lifestyle catch up with him right as he was reaching mainstream success. As one fan commented, Von had so much potential, sad how he died before we could see his full artistry. What makes Von's story even more complex is how fans perceive him. On platforms like Reddit, particularly in communities like r/Cheericology and r/King Von, there's a clear divide between those who idolize his authenticity and those who criticize his violent past. Some see him as a voice for Chicago's struggles, while others view his popularity as problematic, arguing that it glorifies violence. One Reddit user described Von as a legend for all the wrong reasons, while another called him a serial killer with no remorse for victims. This moral conflict extends to fans who enjoy his music but struggle with his legacy, with some expressing that glorifying his violent persona reflects poorly on rap culture. As one commenter bluntly put it, rap is the only genre that glorifies murderers. The legacy lives on. Death has a way of immortalizing artists, especially in hip-hop. Just look at Tupac, Biggie, Pop Smoke. Their legacies have only grown stronger since they left us. King Von is no exception. Since his passing in November 2020, his music has continued to drop posthumously, keeping his name alive in the culture. What's interesting about Von's posthumous releases is how they've been received by fans. On Reddit, one fan described What It Means to Be King as their second favorite Von album, showing the continued appreciation for his work even after death. But there's also skepticism about whether these posthumous albums truly represent what Von would have wanted to release, a common concern with any artist's work published after they're gone. While Von's music continues to be celebrated, his legal issues have cast a long shadow over his legacy, extending even to those close to him. The most significant development is the case against Lil Durk, Von's mentor and friend, who was arrested in October 2024 on serious charges related to a murder-for-hire plot. According to a Justice Department press release, Durk allegedly orchestrated a hit on Quando Rondo in August 2022, nearly 2 years after Von's death, as retaliation. This plot reportedly resulted in the death of Quando's cousin, Lil Pi. Durk has pleaded not guilty, but the case is ongoing, with his trial postponed to October 14, 2025, due to its complexity. The Chicago Sun-Times reported that 5 associates of King Von were also charged in this murder-for-hire plot. Indictment alleges that after Von's death, a co-conspirator offered money and music opportunities with OTF, Only the Family, Durk's label, to kill Quando Rondo. If true, this suggests that Von's death set off a chain reaction of violence that's still playing out years later. What's wild is that while Durk and Von's associates face serious charges for allegedly retaliating, Timothy Lul Tim Leaks, the man accused of firing the shots that killed Von, had his murder charge dismissed in 2023. 11 Alive reported this development.
And Lil Durk is literally still in jail,
Adding another controversial layer to Von's story. It's like the streets and the legal system are operating on entirely different wavelengths. Meanwhile, Quando Rondo, who was at the center of the altercation that led to Von's death, is currently serving a 33-month federal prison sentence for drug conspiracy charges. According to the source, Quando began his sentence on January 10, 2025, with a projected release date of May 29, 2027. He pleaded guilty to a single count of conspiracy to possess and distribute marijuana, a relatively minor charge compared to the violence that surrounded him. All of these legal entanglements show how Von's death wasn't just a tragic moment frozen in time. It was the beginning of a domino effect that continues to impact multiple lives. The street code of retaliation, the get-back mentality that Von himself often rapped about, has real-world consequences that extend far beyond music. Beyond the legal fallout, Von's legacy is also shaped by how fans and peers remember him. His grave has become something of a pilgrimage site for fans, with Atlas Obscura even featuring it in March 2025. In O-Block, a mural of Von has become a tourist attraction, drawing both devoted fans paying respects and, unfortunately, disrespectful ops trying to prove a point. One such incident involved FBG Cash, a longtime rival of Von's, who posted up at the mural with a disrespectful caption. In a tragic turn that speaks to the ongoing cycle of violence, Cash himself would be killed just months later. It's a stark reminder of the real-world stakes of these beefs that fans sometimes treat like entertainment. The discussions about Von on platforms like Reddit reveal the complex ways fans process his contradictory legacy. On r/King Von, one user questioned if Von's fame stems more from his real life than his music, touching on a key aspect of drill rap's appeal: the blurred lines between art and reality. This question of authenticity versus glorification leads to broader debates about drill music itself. Some critics argue that the genre profits from and perpetuates violence in communities already suffering from systemic neglect. Others see it as raw, artistic expression that gives voice to experiences often ignored in mainstream discourse. Von's career embodies this tension. His music was powerful precisely because it was authentic, but that authenticity came from a lifestyle that caused real harm. What's particularly striking about Von's legacy is how polarizing it remains. The responses to the viral body cam footage exemplify this divide. While some fans expressed grief, leaving comments like, "Rest in peace, King Von. He's looking up at us." Others were openly hostile, with comments like, "Rest in piss." And there's nothing tragic about the passing away of a serial killer like Von. This polarization extends to discussions of Von's character. While some fans emphasize his loyalty and generosity, pointing to stories of him giving back to Oblak, others focus on his alleged violent past. As one Reddit user put it, fans who celebrate Von's realness often ignore the consequences of his actions, including the loss of innocent lives. There's also an ongoing debate about Von. For fans, it's a painful reminder of what was lost, a talented artist cut down in his prime. For others, it's a sobering...
Alright fam, we're gonna leave that right there. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. Smash the like button, comment down below, and also turn on post notifications, subscribe so we can get to that 1.5 million subscribers. I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one. Peace.